Welcome back to Q-Dads, I'm Steve and we're back once again for a show I'm not actually sure if I like or not. Now firstly, I'd like to apologise for missing the latest Season 3 trailer, but I was away when it dropped. But at least I'm not an AI voice like the rest of the channels covering the show, although I'm not sure how much better my voice is, but nevertheless, I'm back. So if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell as I'll be covering the whole series. So let's get into it. Now the first thing you see in the episode is actually a recap of Season 2, and I must say the edit Apple released here made Season 2 actually look really exciting rather than a 10-hour slog. Anyway, rant over on Season 2. So we start Season 3 with Trevante and Casper's vitals stopping, indicating their supposed death. We then see the mothership fall without any explanation, followed by an instant 2-year time skip. Now, I have seen that lots of people mention there was no Casper in the trailer, and it's clear now as to why. As clearly, once again, Casper is dead. Now, last time his body was still being monitored as he was only brain dead. This time we're not told, but I can bet his body is being preserved somewhere, as surely you would make sure you had his body again, especially after he came back from the dead last time supposedly. I do feel this time though, we might only be seeing Casper in flashbacks, and maybe on the mothership towards the end as he helps or doesn't help humanity. Right, let's get further into that time skip. It's clear the world has moved on quickly in 2 years. We see children playing with Trevante and Casper action figures, M-Day sales and all of the other capitalist things, which you would have assumed might not have happened after lots of the planet was massacred. Typically in post-events like this, the world actually seems to be a better place, but it's seeming as though invasion has carried on the way it was before. But nevertheless, we see a man go to find his dog, only to come in contact with what seems like a slug-like alien. Well, to me anyways. The movement of the colours inside of it looked like how a slug eyes are, but then he gets brutally taken out by a hunter-killer, and with that, that's the only mention of alien activity we get in the episode. Now, firstly, why was this not reported? Was it just a leftover alien, or as they did say, the hunter-killers head back to the dead zone to die, was it just on the way back? I get the impression, though, no attacks had happened with those hunter-killers going back to die. So, is this just a lie by the WDC, and they cover up these small one-off events of aliens killing humans still? We then cut to the Atlantic Ocean, to Port 11, which we then learn later there are 12 of, and it seems as though a pulse happens which alerts them to the presence of Trevante. They do mention though that they were unsure as the mothership does occasionally let out pulses, which they call dying pulses. Now, interestingly here, when they open up the cover to the portal, they surround it with normal guns. Now, last I remembered, normal guns didn't work very well on the aliens and they needed fire. So why would they open the silo here? Unless we finally have some new weaponry. Anyway, Trevante seems to be back and looking exactly like he did 2 years ago, which I think is an important detail. We get some more confirmation on this as later in the episode it looks like he was sucked into a portal during those events, so we can assume that these portals, or whatever we're going to call them, act more like wormholes and spit you out at a random future time, as clearly Trevante has no muscle breakdown, so it's not like his body has aged 2 years during this time. Needless to say, the WDC are wary of him, especially Jack Hollander. We get some interrogation shots with Trevante, with him revealing that he's not sure what actually happened, but he believes the aliens are coming once again, and that he saw something, but it's hitching the back of his mind. With one of the scenes that we get a quick flash of, showing us a new type of alien that is almost in the walls. During all of this, we get some scenes with Jam again, showing us the trauma she has faced, along with revealing Casper's final brain scan, which did eerily look a lot like a tower, which is clearly hinted at early in this episode. Now, I will say, during Season 1 and 2, the kids' side of the story can get grating, and this episode nearly fell back into that with Jam's early start, but luckily they moved quickly and Jam headed off to the former US. Trevante heads to receive his award, again being told by Jack that he believed Trevante might be a threat. Trevante starts to give his speech, and during that gets some flashbacks, showing us a drawing of a skull and what we believed at the time to be one of the aliens. Could this now serve as a warning that humans might be part of the problem coming up, as we do hear Mitski mention that humans are the problem in the trailer? Either way, Trevante carries on with his speech, getting to a point where he mentions that Casper said to him one time, that you are a soldier. And then before he can finish the rest of the line, Jam says the words, help us, leading to a lovely reunion of the two, which eventually leads to a classic Trevante outburst, revealing to Jam that he remembered nothing and that she should move on. But before leaving, she hands Trevante the brain scan, which finally triggers his memories as he reveals there is a new alien, which we get a glimpse of earlier in the episode and the trailer. He attempts to warn the General, but the General brushes it off as PTSD, with Trevante deciding to leave, but not before he has a confrontation with some soldiers, showing us his skills. Now, just before that confrontation, the lights start to flicker and alarms go off. Now, is this because of Trevante? Has he actually developed some powers like the others who came in contact with the aliens? It is probably just the security system going off, but either way, Jam starts to tell him to listen to her, like she did with Casper, to help calm him down and bring him back to sanity. So this does make me think that Jam has already noticed Trevante being a little bit like how Casper was. Either way, Trevante makes quick work of these soldiers, again proving his body has not weakened over the last 2 years, before the two then head off in a whirlwind adventure, with Hollander saying that Trevante can't escape and has gone from the world's hero to the most wanted. And with that, episode 1 comes to an end. Now, the first episode was actually strong for Invasion. If the pacing keeps up like this, I think it will actually be a good season. Now, it's clear we've only met half the cast this week, as we've seen the others in the trailer, obviously missing Anisha, Luke and Mitski. Now, one thing that really bugged me throughout this whole episode is how Mitski is completely ignored. Without her aid, Trevante wouldn't have been able to get through the portal, and it's not like the WDC don't know about her, as they basically bloody hired her. So yeah, it was a bit of a weird one. I can only assume the WDC are keeping her a secret because of something else later on. We then move on about the shard, which is completely missing, and we last saw it with Trevante on the ship, and again, it has still been unexplained as to what it actually does. I'm going to assume next week we'll get an episode with Mitski and Luke, as those are the ones with powers, and clearly from the trailer, Mitski is tracking the aliens. So it will be interesting to see what happened with those two, especially as the movement group should have ended, but I bet it hasn't. Anyways, let me know your thoughts on the episode. Do you think the WDC are hiding alien attacks? Do you think we will see Casper before the last couple of episodes? And finally, do you think Trevante might now actually be a bit like Casper? And by that, I mean the last we saw of Casper, he appeared alien-like in the eyes. Now, just a note for next week, the video will be released a little bit later, but I will come out with it, don't worry about that. So, thanks for watching, please subscribe as it helps the channel to grow, and as always, we'll catch you next time with something new.